But I guess that's an interesting piece, though.
Yeah.
Because
That's a piece that needed to be said. So that's fascinating you brought it up because it was great. It was a great point. Okay, nigga. Oh, my God.
But
I'm going to kill him, okay? This is all live, guys. Not live, but this is recorded. This is being recorded. I threatened you. I'm just kidding.
yeah. Y'all mark that down if I go missing. But what a bad move by her to kill me.
Oh, man. If you went missing, ain't no way I'm saying I will do all kinds of things to cover that up.
Who's going to edit your podcast if you kill me? Matter of fact, who's sitting in my chair?
This feel like that other podcast. Are you trying to set me up? Like you trying to set me up?
Say any old nigga.
Not really, but I mean, I might have to pay someone, but there's gonna be people to edit it.
Like there's millions of them. Is that my only hurdle?
Fiverr.
Is that the only hurdle what you did in my life?
I know, like that's the thing you bring up. The podcast editing.
I need to find
so many other things. Which episode are we doing today?
Privilege.
Oh boy. Ooh, that's gonna be therapeutic.
Why do you say that?
Oh, I'll get some shit off my chest. Oh. It's like getting in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
nemesis.
On that note, welcome to the Codependent Podcast. This episode is Privilege.
Yay.
And my wife needs to get some stuff off her chest with this one. So you know how I'm going to start it? I want you to take off your counselor robe, because I know that's what y'all wear. Robes.
I wish I could judge.
Yeah.
I feel like I should. I feel like in an ignorant way, I feel like I've earned that. It's a lot of shit I'm sitting through. Listening
should I get you a gavel as well?
Hell fucking yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the sand glass, hourglass. I'm always looking for that. I haven't gotten that one yet. I want a nice hourglass. I kind of want a huge one. Remember that rice thing?
Yeah.
The rain, what they call it? Rainmaker, rain sand, rain stick.
You've
rain
derailed
stick.
us. You've derailed us.
I didn't know we were on a path. This is how it goes in our relationship all the time. I have all my tangents and you want to get me linear. Oh, that sounded sexual.
Wow. Linear, huh?
Mm-hmm. Horizontal.
Vertical works.
True that.
Yeah. I want you to just go ahead and give me a full-out rant on privilege. What bothers you about it? What privilege have you run into that's annoying? Why, as soon as you hear the word, do you get a little bit annoyed? Go.
Oh my God, there's so many reasons. I mean, obviously we all have privilege, so it's a hypocritical thing.
That we do not. I did not ask you for nuance. I did not ask you for nuance.
No, it's not nuance. It's more of a disclaimer. Like, I'm a hypocrite because I have privilege, and I act privileged.
This
sometimes.
How you get your rant ready?
No, I don't normally get that rant ready because normally people that I'm ranting to know that.
Okay.
So I feel safe and comfortable ranting to them. I don't know these people, so I don't feel as comfortable ranting to them.
I respect
so
that.
I gotta give my little disclaimer.
I respect
but why
that.
does privilege annoy me? Oh, I can tell you the number one reason. I don't even know if it's number one, but a major reason it annoys me. Is because privileged motherfuckers love to judge someone else for the thing they're least knowledgeable in. Okay? Oh, that's why.
Okay. What do you mean? What do you mean? Give me an example
areas,
of that.
So many areas. When I was at Jared, working at Jared, it was always the nerdy, non-fashionable people that would talk about my client, like my outfit. It's just like, you dress for comfort. Fashion is not your thing.
Okay.
That's not your thing. Like, you know it's not your thing. So then why would you comment on someone else's fashion? That's not your lane.
How does privilege pertain to them being ignorant in that way?
Oh my goodness, because the privileged don't know they're ignorant. They think they know. They think they're informed. They think their worldview and their perspective is the perspective. So it's ignorance at its basis level, right? Switching it into the more racial area, right? It's almost always the ones like, why are y'all still talking about slavery? Oh, your family was shackled up?
Right.
No, so shut up.
Right.
Or like, men, you've been raped? No, so why don't you sit down and listen?
So you're saying the okay, excuse me, something about a advantaged group or privileged people gives them a certain chutzpah to think that they can disseminate
Talk about it.
Or on any subject, in particular the ones that they really
They're
don't.
the most ignorant about.
Right,
Like the
okay.
most ignorant about, right?
Okay.
Take it into one of your situations with someone in your past where they were talking about race, but then had never been around black people. It's like, oh
I like how you edited that
yeah.
in the moment.
You know exactly what situation
like,
I'm talking about.
I'm like, wait, got it. Okay, yeah, okay.
Ooh, it just irks my core.
Yeah.
It irks me so much. It's like so many times it's like, it's a lack of self-awareness. It's a lack of worldly and earthly and contextual awareness, like completely. And I know it's not their fault, but it's like you have certain privileges, so it makes you unaware of others, right?
Okay.
But the people you're unaware of don't have your privileges, so they're actually in the more pained and hurt position.
Okay.
But they're the ones who are expected to take on your pain.
Yeah.
They're suffering more. They're struggling more, but they're the ones expected to make all of the adjustments for you.
Yeah.
So that goes into like slavery and racism, right? Oh, why do we need to? So you're uncomfortable with a conversation that is an everyday experience for us. So you can't even sit through that conversation, or you can't sit through that reality doesn't exist. We're living it every day.
Yeah.
And because you can't see that, you do racist and ignorant things every day.
I see how the privilege vaults somebody into ignorance. I know you got plenty more rant in you, and I'm
You
gonna
done riled me up. You done riled me up. Now you trying to rein me in.
I'm gonna give you opportunity.
Oh, my chest. Ooh,
But
that did feel a little good though.
Okay, I'll take care of you. I'll give you a
I
little
didn't see
bit
the
off the
video,
top.
so I'm probably got all kind of crazy
Don't worry
faces
about
in
that.
here, but that was necessary a little bit.
Don't worry about that. So, we're gonna play our favorite game called. And don't clap, because she got annoyed that she said I make her clap along every time. But we're going to play our game called Cringe the Counselor. As I clap on myself. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord.
No, you didn't make me, but I do feel a little bit of pressure too.
Okay,
and
now that
I
I've-
hate that.
now
You
that
relieve
I've
me.
relieved
You
you.
relieve me. I don't look like a douchebag, just boring, blind one clap to your game.
Right. I
But
clap by myself.
I
I don't mind. Okay.
I do. I do love your game. It's cute. I
Cringe
love-
the Counselor, where I throw random name playing by myself basically now. I throw random phrases and sentences at her, the counselor. She takes her intuition, her knowledge, and her general sensitivities and says, from 0 to 10, how much does it cringe her? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number one. Why did I do
I
that?
don't know.
don't
I
know.
played along.
Yeah, thank you.
See, sometimes I do.
Thumbnail?
More like a bookmark.
Okay. Number one, the devil. I've read from the wrong show notes. Number one, privilege isn't as important as the work you put in.
That's a 6.
That's a 6, cringe. Okay. All right. I'm proud of myself for that one. I'm actually aiming to get a 10 here one day.
Ooh, this is going to be the one to help you with, because there's a lot of shit that's going on naturally.
Everybody has privilege, so there's no point in you bringing up mine.
That's about a 7.
Okay.
8,
7, 8. Ramping up. Okay.
We getting there.
Number 3. you should feel guilty for how you've benefited from privilege.
Four.
Okay. See, I gave you a softball
Yeah,
there.
I wanted to say one honestly. Feel guilt. My soul's leaking. My soul. That's not my soul. That's my dark. That's the little devil on my shoulder.
I think he's sitting right on top of your damn head.
Yeah, maybe. Shit.
Number 4, our final one. Privileged populations have a responsibility to understand the plight of the disadvantaged.
0.
Yeah.
0.
Okay.
Absolutely, they do.
And I lied that was our final
Yeah.
one. Number 5. Privileged or unprivileged, talking about it all goddamn day ain't gonna do shit. Oh, God, I'm just trying to say things that I tried to get ignorant there. I didn't even write that one down, but it was.
That wasn't ignorant.
Yeah, it wasn't. God dang it.
That wasn't ignorant.
I gotta work on that. I'm gonna work on.
I mean, the only real ignorant part is like there's no point in talking about it all day. So there obviously is a point.
Yeah, you see,
that's why I was
that's
like,
all I had. That was weak. I'm disappointed in myself. Anyway, that's our game, ladies and gentlemen. Let me ask you about.
That's true.
Let me ask you about number 1, where people often talk about how when you point out the advantages someone else had, you're using it as an excuse, right? I hear this a lot around. You're using it as an excuse. I've felt it before. I guess not in every context, but in general, what do you think about that concept of pull up by the bootstraps, kind of ignoring social inequity?
That would have been a great one to give me a 9 and a 10. That's a good one. That's a good one because that gets under my skin because that is exactly my rant.
Okay.
That is my rant.
Yeah.
That is the perspective of privilege, which is why it's your responsibility to understand the underprivileged, because you can't understand our perspective from where you sit. So you're going to hear it as an excuse, right? But if I stripped you of all your resources and then told you to try to make your ends meet and compete with us and get to where we are, you might feel differently.
I agree.
Because you haven't experienced that and you have these resources, you'll tell people, you can do what I've done.
Yeah.
Okay, so give up your resources. Why are you resisting that?
Yeah.
Why you ain't give us reparations?
Even it out. Okay. The definition of privilege is a special advantage or rights given to a particular group.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you went over, the racial privilege. There's a male privilege as well. But I've heard you break it down even further than that before, to a micro level. For instance, there's 2 African American. Well, I say that I try to be too fancy or something.
Politically correct.
Yeah, it's 2 black teenagers. Call them both girls, and they're both poor, but one's got a house full of like support with an auntie living there and a grandma, and their mom is there, dad is there, and there's just people around. The other one may not have that support system. You can see a privilege. I've heard you break down like that.
Oh my gosh.
Even in like I said, micro, how you grew up, what you learned, what were you exposed to,
lessons in life, advantages given, right?
Right. Just like
colorism. Obviously, you got the light skin privilege. So because you said within black girls, or even within black men, so that's in groups. Right, but even within the in groups, you have separation. So just because we're both black, there's a different experience that you have as a black man, different experiences I have a black woman. There's different experiences we have because of our genders, because of our intellect. So all of those are going to play into effect. I mean, you hear Cole talk about that in his music a lot, right? Like his friends who grew up more hood took on that role, but protected him from that because they saw that he had an intellectual privilege. Okay, no, you got something else. And that is love. I've told you about that too from my own childhood experience, where I have friends who have more money than me.
Right.
So they help me with lunch, certain things, and I give them what I can give them, right? So it's one of those things where, like, we're not going to all have it all, but there are certain things I have, there are certain things you have. And so to me, I look at that as the privilege, right? The haves, the have-nots. You're not a have-not all around.
Okay.
But you may be a have-not in an area,
okay.
right? I may not have a lot financially, but I have a lot intellectually.
So when someone, I like what you're saying, assigning someone the label overall of privileged, unprivileged, or underprivileged, or whatever, to blanketly do it is dangerous because you don't quite know what all is in that. Now, of course, in our society, the archetype that's seen as the highest level of privilege is the wealthy white man.
Absolutely.
Right? In America,
because there is a hierarchy
in the world or whatever. So that they skip a lot of social disadvantages or whatever. They skip the letter on that. They have advantages there, and then financial and all these things. So if you put that person, you can slap a label of privilege easy from the eye.
Well, also because in that sense we're talking about the most privileged, right? Meaning, so we say wealth. You and I don't make a lot of money, but we're wealthy in America, for sure.
Or in the world.
In the world, even more in the world,
America,
even more in the world, right? And what I mean by that is, technically, if you make $60K, you're wealthy in America. But what you just described, or what I'm assuming you meant by what you described, is not the person making $60K. Is the person
generational
making generational wealth, which is the most privileged. And so that's also an extreme. Like, you got to think of outliers, right?
And that's kind of why I wanted to use that example, though.
Absolutely.
Because I wanted to say, if I paint this archetype as the most, right? And then we go back to the young black girl surrounded by family. Say that the wealthy guy had the parents who's always traveling, putting this fool in the nannies, putting them like isolated in his childhood, obviously wealthy, successful, white, privilege. Then the black girl who we mentioned who's poor, there's areas, not in social things, but she's privileged to have had love growing up.
Maybe. That's my point. A lot of times when you introduce poverty,
that's what I mean by the maybe.
Yeah.
I'm playing hypothetical, right? In a sense of the concept you told me about intersectionality.
Oh, yes, I agree with that, absolutely. I think that, so, when we talk about privilege, we're talking about it already through the lens of a white colonial perspective, which is the reason money is valued.
Right.
That is what they had. They had generational wealth. And if I'm creating the language and the narrative around what is valuable and what is valued in society, I'm going to create it around what I have.
Right.
So I have wealth. Does that mean that's actually what's most valuable to society and what's the actual most privileged? No, because that's where this concept of privilege gets under my skin. We just talked about it. The privileged lose.
They're actually ignorant in that
They're
sense.
very ignorant, and not just ignorant, they lose perspective. They lose connection. They lose sustainability in some ways, right? Like, I can't take care of myself. Like, I have all of these things because my money can buy these resources. But imagine, like, you and I watch Walking Dead. Where is your rich privilege going to help you in apocalypse, in a war, in certain things where you have to survive and take care of yourself? You may not have had to have certain skills. So in our society, we value wealth. And that's why I said that's the most privileged, because we live in a capitalistic society.
Right.
So we value that the most. But is that what is the most valuable thing in society? No, that's a whole different conversation, kind of, or the same spinoff. And in that sense, I absolutely agree that that's another part of privilege that's toxic and, I guess, triggering for me, is because although wealth does not equate to true privilege, meaning like what I consider like peace or health or happiness or any of that, right? Because we continue that narrative, that continues to be the thing that everyone chases.
And I guess I like the way you broke it down, because the truth of the matter is money is a privilege. So there you are privileged, and like you said, in this area. When you speak about it blanketly, it gets weird because, like I said, the intersectionality makes it so that we are full of different categories. If I could,
Absolutely.
you know what? I'm not going to read the definition. I'm just going to. But
what, for the definition for privilege?
Intersectionality.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's already been done, actually.
I love that. I love that.
But overall, though, the concept, though, I just wanted you to speak about, because I've learned a lot from you in this particular area.
Oh yes, because if we're being honest, I would like to address one that we don't talk about as often in society, which is the attractive privilege. And it's the reason why I said you have to think of intersections, because, and not just intersections, but outliers in particular, meaning more extremes. You may be very poor, but you may be very attractive. So now you're going to be treated very differently than a very poor, very unattractive, societally speaking person.
Sure.
Right? So that cushions you from some understanding and knowledge of even your own peers.
Okay.
And also can connect you sometimes into these, get you advantages, because that's what privilege is about, right? Advantages, right?
Yeah.
So there's an attractive advantage where people will do favors for you, will treat you differently, will be nicer to you because of how you look.
Yeah.
In a similar way, wealth is like that, right? Where you can be an unattractive or very poor person. I mean, unattractive, or like to society, you're a jackass, you're an ass, but I got all this money. So it insulates me in that way, right? And so like you start to see those intersections, what you're saying, where if I have enough of one privilege, enough personality, right? You've seen unattractive people make it very far because they have the right personality, the right confidence, the right swag, we say.
And social courage,
confidence, right? That's something that's built through pain and trauma. Overcoming things will make you more confident.
Stand-up comedians talk about that a lot. The rougher backgrounds provide like a levity, like a platform, like a safety they feel to do this because they did that.
And in that sense, it sounds crazy. People hate it when I say it. My clients get triggered sometimes when I say it. But in that sense, I've always said trauma's a privilege in a way, right? Like, not like you want to go through it or you would choose to have it, but people that got rich didn't choose that either. Like, you're born into wealth, or you're born into pain, or you're born into whatever. So you don't have a choice. But all of the teasing, or the, like, even for myself, I was teased a lot. It pushed me not to care what people think, because you can't control it.
Right.
You can try, because that's what kids try to do, or like you said, adults try to do it. We try to buy things. Like you hear rappers talk about it all the time. I couldn't get these women, now I got this money.
Yeah.
Now they like me, but you're still not happy with that situation. So it's like no matter what, you're still going to get pushed to face and deal with the shit.
Yeah.
It's like almost impossible to run from it.
What do you think the advantages are that a person, for like, if I'm watching this and I'm saying, okay, I'm privileged, I'm not privileged, I'm intersectionality, I got all this, you got all that, you got money, I don't, like, cool, right? We all have these areas, but what's the point? What do I get as a person for doing the work and discovering the areas where I am privileged or underprivileged? What do I get for that?
That's a great question. That's an excellent question, because this nigga's real proud of himself. It's funny because I tell you this all the time, right? Like for relationships, what's my buy-in? Why should I have this relationship with this person, this thing, this idea, if there's no benefit to me? So obviously to me, the overarching clinical benefit, therapeutic, not even therapeutic, loving, spiritual benefit is it makes the world a better place.
For me, I did not ask you for shit for the world.
I didn't get to that part. You said what's the benefit, right?
Okay,
that is the benefit, because if it makes the world a better place, you enjoy a better world. You benefit from that in all areas.
I need quicker payoff, please.
And in all ways. Well, it gets you respect. If you need a direct one for yourself personally, it gets you love and respect. It gets you valued and valuable.
By owning how I'm privileged, I will get respect?
Absolutely.
How?
Do you respect Trump?
No.
Why?
Oh, okay, because he's complete opposite. He completely ignores the privilege. Okay.
And that doesn't even just completely... Well, yes, that's our nice way of saying it. But what do people say? He's an idiot is
Callous.
What people think. Yeah, he's mean.
Detached.
He's detached. He's cold. Because that is the other perspective.
Okay.
That's our perspective. So what do you gain? You gain respect of people you are disrespecting from your point of view.
Okay. So basically by learning how I'm privileged, it offers more understanding to the people around me, better relationships, better connections.
And therefore gives you better understanding back.
About myself?
No, from others.
Okay.
Right? You reap what you sow.
Okay.
Karma, synergy, right? So if I want respect, I have to give respect.
By giving them the understanding and by trying to understand how I'm privileged in the way they're not, they could in turn understand ways maybe they're privileged over me.
Yes.
That
someone has to go first, right?
Okay.
If you're already the privileged party, it should be you. Okay? Let's just be honest. It should be you.
What if it's too vague to know? Like, our lives are kind of similar, kind of peer-like, or I don't have the information.
That's the point of these conversations, right? Because the honest, true point is for each person to check their own privilege. Because you're not aware if you're the privileged person all the time. So if I'm always just going around saying I'm not privileged, that's the problem. You're probably the privileged one.
Oh, okay.
That's the one right there. Because I guarantee you, if you was disadvantaged, you would know.
But maybe that's what they're saying. For instance, like,
when does a white wealthy millionaire say I'm disadvantaged?
Well, I was actually thinking maybe about a poor black man in a relationship with a black woman. He has to own his male privilege. But
That's an excellent example.
He's been walking around his whole life feeling underprivileged
as a black person.
Yeah.
So he hasn't explored his privileges as a man.
Correct, and this is why he's
But has he really not? That's what I'm saying. Has he really not?
I'm at this in a hypothetical where it's hard to tell privilege because
this is my own issue with privilege, because it gets very hard for me, and this is the underprivileged and the oppressed person's blindness. Maybe this is our struggle, but it's really hard for us to think you don't know. Like, seriously, they don't know. Like, not like they're ignoring it or they don't care or they're just whatever. They really don't know.
Well, I'll go from our life experience. There's been times you've been out with certain girlfriends and either notice because of a difference in personality or attraction, whatever the reason, there's a draw to you maybe than there wasn't to some of your other friends. I've also felt you feel that on the other end where friends have been, drawn, and you'll go to ugly duckling easy because that's how you were saying you grew up. But then sometimes they might be the ugly duckling. You came back to me and told me, damn, I missed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really was talking about myself and talking about my insecurities, and I didn't take into account how how this person might feel with me as the pretty girl in this certain dispensation.
Hold on. So this is an interesting one because you've thrown in a new dichotomy, right?
Okay.
And we haven't talked about that one,
okay,
which is a shift in privilege, right? I was a weird, awkward, unattractive, teased child who transitioned into someone who was considered more attractive, but I didn't consider myself attractive. That's not technically the privileged group, but I guess I moved into the privileged group and didn't realize it.
Okay.
So yes, that's a whole new dichotomy because basically that's an ongoing thing. You shifted into privilege. Yeah. So that's almost like the poor
like if you
person
got money real quick.
Kanye, the rich, all these celebrities, all of these like basketball stars and all that. You grew up poor, now all of a sudden you have money. So you shot into privilege in that area.
Right.
But you weren't privileged your whole life in that area.
Right.
So that's not a privilege. Do you see what I'm saying?
So
it's different than generational. That's why we specifically talked about generational wealth, where this is a foundation of who you are.
Yes.
I wasn't foundationally privileged, attractive looking, whatever.
Or at least you didn't feel it, which is the point.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe I was. I don't know how to tell that.
You could have been admired in every classroom. But if you didn't feel it...
I wasn't. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I was teased about my looks in school.
To me, that is how you know you was lit, but...
No. I'm talking about teased in the sense like this is a guy I like. No, she's a Dalmatian.
Whoops.
That's different. Okay.
Okay.
That's not, I like her. No, she's a Dalmatian.
Yeah, that was a hard pass he gave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hard. That's what I'm trying to say. People think, like, people can't, and this is what I had to learn because people are seeing me now. So they're like, nah, no. Okay. I don't think I was. And maybe I'm still tripping. And maybe there's other things in that. But
who knows?
I'm talking about, like, yeah.
But
like,
it doesn't matter about subjectivity when you didn't grow up. It doesn't matter what it was or who thought, because who could judge you were off in your childhood? Because no one knows. It's all subjective. But I do see what you're saying in the sense that if I grew up on yachts versus I bought my first yacht at 40.
It's different. It's very different.
But I guess that's an interesting piece, though.
Yeah. That's a piece that needed to be said. So that's fascinating you brought it up because it was great. It was a great point. Okay, nigga. Oh, my God.
But
I'm going to kill him, okay? This is all live, guys. Not live, but this is recorded. This is being recorded. I threatened you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Y'all mark that down if I go missing. But what a bad move by her to kill me.
Oh, man. If you went missing, ain't no way I'm saying I will do all kinds of things to cover that up.
Who's going to edit your podcast if you kill me? Matter of fact, who's sitting in my chair?
This feel like that other podcast. Are you trying to set me up? Like, you trying to set me up?
Say any old nigga.
Not really, but I mean, I might have to pay someone, but there's gonna be people to edit it.
Like, there's millions of them. Is that my only hurdle?
Fiverr.
Is that the only hurdle what you did in my life?
I know, like that's the thing you bring up. The podcast editing.
I need to find a new editor.
Other things.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a small outfit change. Or maybe our editor messed up the footage.
You didn't really mess up the footage. Technology messed up.
Yeah, some things happen. Either way, here we are.
Either way.
Huh?
Either way.
Either way. Okay. Either way.
Why you do it?
I thought that's what you were doing. I was doing your thing.
I was just being weird.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I mean, I didn't do it intentionally.
Oh, okay. I was going for unity.
I like it, though.
You're welcome. So, for people who might consider themselves not to be in a privileged group, to be disadvantaged, whether that be financially, whether that be from a social perspective, growing up, trauma, whatever the reason, what would you say the benefit would be to a person taking time, sitting back and exploring the pain around it, looking at the categories where they feel hurt and seeing where maybe they do have some suffering and some pain stored up?
Absolutely. That's a good question. So it's funny because that's my approach to therapy. Existentialism is oftentimes rooted in what is the meaning of our suffering? What is the meaning of our pain? And from that perspective, everything, growth, development, perseverance, right?
This is what you can get from exploring it?
Absolutely, right? Because if I'm comfortable, I'm not really exploring already. I'm comfortable.
Right.
No one asks a bunch of questions when they're comfortable. I'm
good. Yeah.
But when I'm uncomfortable, what's going on? Why is this happening? Why does this keep happening to me? So now I have an opportunity to figure some shit out. When I'm comfortable, I don't typically ask a lot of questions.
Right, exactly. Like my car is working fine. Hey, mechanic, check, see if something's wrong.
Yeah. My relationship's working fine. Hey.
Let's go to counseling.
Let's just go to counseling. Or let's just sit down and discuss everything we don't like about each other. People don't do that. Right. So normally it's once you're in pain, once you're uncomfortable, once you're going through something that you're like, okay, what's going on?
Okay.
That's the benefit of the conflict. If you don't have any conflict, you don't really grow and develop. which is why we struggle with people who are more privileged, right? It pushes you out of perspective.
Okay.
Because if I'm comfortable, I'm not asking.
Right.
I'm good.
Not looking under the hood.
Absolutely. And it also disconnects me from people because I can't understand your point of view. I just know mine. Mine's good.
Yeah.
But once I've understood pain, I also can understand yours a little better.
Okay.
I understand.
It helps you with relating also.
Yeah.
How, if I am suffering, maybe like I don't have a ton of family or friend support, a small network, I feel lonely a lot, or financially suffering, maybe in my past or even into now, by looking through that and seeing how I feel about all that stuff, I get that I'm going to grow. You're saying, counselor. How practically, by me sitting in my house and looking at all the stuff that bothers me about how I've suffered, how is that going to get me to growth?
That's actually a good question, because you're not going to get it just from looking, right?
Okay. Right. That makes sense.
In the Christian world, they use the analogy of the Bible being a mirror.
Okay.
Right? So it's like looking in the mirror, seeing you have a booger on your face and doing nothing. That don't help.
Okay.
It makes me aware that there's a booger on my face, but unless I apply some type of information, it didn't change anything.
Okay.
It didn't do anything. So it's not just looking and assessing by itself, but it's sort of taking those lessons and applying those lessons, right? So I think you said finances, right?
Yeah.
If I can see throughout several years I'm struggling financially, if I'm being honest with myself and I'm seeing that, then that also lets me know I can do something different. I shouldn't keep doing the same thing next year. I will get the same results, right?
Okay.
So if I want something different, I have to do something different. First part was studying it and assessing it, but now that I've studied and assessed it, what am I going to do?
Okay.
Now I can make some changes.
Put practical steps into place. And as for relationships, if I struggled making friends growing up and now I don't have a big social circle, like I said, my family's small and stuff like that, and I know I'm suffering from it, and things aren't going great, and I really want to build new relationships, how is sorting through that, like with the finances, going to get me to a healthier place around socialization and interpersonals?
So the other process that we do in therapy is cognitive behavior, right? With cognitive behavior therapy, you're again assessing your thoughts, but you're being honest about your thoughts, right?
Okay.
So when we talk about being honest, the truth tends to lie somewhere in the middle of the two sides that we're telling ourselves. I'm not always amazing. I'm not always terrible, right? So if I'm assessing my thoughts and my relationships and I'm saying I've struggled to make friends, I can look at the data. Well, okay, what was the struggle in elementary school? What's the struggle in high school? What's the struggle in college? Is it connecting? Is it proximity? Is it connection points, meaning similarities with my peers? Once I can see that, I also again have data to move forward. If I know I've liked these people and they didn't like me, that's something to look at, right?
Okay.
Am I choosing the wrong types of people to connect to?
I see. So, okay, wow, thank you. You got so practical, and I didn't prep you for that, but thank you, because I could see somebody being like, all right, this is all good, what you're saying, look at it, but now what? Well, now this is really practical, because it's like, look over the relationships. You say you haven't had good ones. Let's not just leave it at, I don't have good relationships.
That mean? Yeah.
Look at what's the last one?
What is a good relationship?
What are you after? How did this not have it?
How are you dissatisfied? Have you seen, you told me this 1,000 times. Have you seen anybody with the relationship you're looking for? Is it practical? Is it realistic, right? Because if I'm looking for something I've never seen before, that's my answer right there.
Right.
Which is a lot of times the case, right? When I'm talking to couples specifically, especially if you talk about this romance, these ideas that society has taught us of what a relationship should look like. Okay,
right.
So that's what you think it should look like. Who has that?
Yeah.
No one.
Right.
Even, for instance, I get this a lot, happy marriage. You and I get that label because we've been together for 20-something years.
Yeah.
So now people are like, oh, this is a happy couple. That's what you want to strive for. I want a happy marriage. No, not these other relationships. One that's happy, though.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
Who has a happy marriage every day of their relationship?
Right.
So you're looking at this couple that's today not happy and they're not happy ever.
Right.
Versus this couple that today's happy, they're happy always.
Right.
That's what I mean by the truth is somewhere in the middle, because we make it an all or nothing statement. This person's happy, this person's sad.
Or this person's privileged, this person's not. Or I am rich and I'm the best and they're not. And right.
Or even, all my relationships are bad.
Right.
That's not true. Are there dissatisfactions within your relationship? Let's explore that. But I promise you, not every relationship you've ever had in your whole life was bad. Probably. Now, they may have had different levels of satisfaction, peace, comfort, love, whatever. Let's explore those again, so that we now also have a criteria, standards, expectations to pull from for my next relationship.
Yeah. I like that. Man, I actually think the same. Like, if you're going around saying all my relationships are great, wait a minute. You might want to check and ask those folks how they're feeling about them. Because it just reminds me of, like you were saying, about the privilege and the losing touch and stuff like that.
I like that perspective, right? Because am I grading my own report card? We always heard that from our former pastor. So if I'm always going through like, oh no, my relationships are killing it, but I'm only determining it by myself.
Yeah.
And I haven't checked in with no one I'm in a relationship
with. You have any more data? Yeah, I like that, and there's a balance to it. So after our awkward comeback and ending, thank you guys for joining us anyway on a quick outfit change. Hope you enjoyed this privilege. Hope you enjoyed the privilege of enjoying our privilege episode. Right? Absolutely. Oh, that was one of the fakest smiles you've ever.
It's because I was looking at this box on the data box, and I'm like, what is that? Did it not record again?
We are still good, dear.
We're
still
having
good.
An issue?
Thank you for helping me with production, though.
But I'm not good with the fake emotion. I don't know how to fake those things. That's why I hated the clap. I'm like, oh man, I gotta do a fake smile.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us
I can't
for this episode.
He said on that note, as I was already clapping, he tried to get me. He tried to trap me into the class. I'm just kidding.